get into part two of my mock draft. Thanks for the support on the first one. Y'all seem to like it quite a bit. The views and likes, comments, all great. Keep running that up. If you want me to do like a second round, a full second round one as well with the same kind of explanations, I'll try as best I can. If you want that, let me know. Once again, this is what I would do if I am picking as every GM. Not exactly what I think is going to happen because I don't have any intel or anything like that. And 16 or 15 to 30 now, we're at the point where there's some really good values. As I said, this is a really good class, and there's more than 14 lottery level or close talents to me. And there's going to be some good players coming off the board still. Starting with Chiney George to the Atlanta Hawks at number 15, whose off-ball scoring utility and playmaking utility would really benefit Trae Young and DeJounte Murray and the guys that they have. Obviously, an elite shooting prospect with the ability to pull from deep and hit from kind of wherever he wants, but the passing really stands out as well, as in like semi-transition, he's pretty good at hitting a pick and roll slip. He's much better as an on-ball passer than off-ball, or off-ball passer than on-ball, because on-ball he struggles to create separation, but in Atlanta he wouldn't have to do that as much, where he can do things just like this, attacking a closeout, drawing help, kicking down to the big man. That could be Capella. And he reminds me, honestly, a decent little bit of Kevin Huerter, at least offensively, and especially in Atlanta's role. I think they're really missing a guy like Huerter who can be that more like secondary playmaker, unlike DeJounte, who's kind of another like main pick and roll ball handler who needs the ball in his hands. Huerter's spacing and off ball movement, again, attacks this closeout, dribbles his way in, and makes a pass down low. This is the kind of role that Keontae can replicate, coming off of a dribble handoff, throwing a lob to John Collins or Capella or Onyeka. I think Keontae is probably the best talent on the board at this point and fills a potential need for the Hawks as well offensively. So this is a pick I really like. 16, we're giving Nick Smith to, who is picking 16th? Utah. Utah is picking 16th. And again, we're stacking talent, and Nick is the best talent on the board. Another guy who I think could definitely go in the lottery, as he has some really interesting tools, starting with this shot creation, the ability to hit tough shots from all over the floor with his touch. He can use his handle to create for jumpers, a relentless and tireless off-ball mover. Just watch him constantly peeking in and out of gaps, hunting space, looking for a shot. He looks for the shot. He doesn't get the ball. He's disappointed, but he eventually gets the ball and hits that little floater. His touch game is immaculate. There are definitely questions, but the defense is really solid as well. He's got to add strength. He's got to add a little bit of quickness. The shot needs to be good, but he's really active. Look at the awareness cutting off that drive there. And overall, Utah, just getting another high upside secondary ball handling talent. They took Cason Wallace in the first round, or not the first round, in the lottery of this mock draft, who was their star defense guard type player, and now they get another offensive superstar, potentially, no, not superstar, just another really quality potential offensive guard in Nick Smith. So again, beautiful passer right there. Great job passing to cuts. At 17, we are giving the Los Angeles Lakers Bryce Sensabaugh. This is a fit I really like, as Sensabaugh is probably the class's premier just bucket getter. He is an unbelievable mid-range scorer, hitting all manner of tough fadeaways, separating with his shoulder and shooting over contests, and he's flashed a little bit of handling ability. His in-and-out move is probably the most effective at this point, allowing him to gain leverage on defenders, get his shoulder below, and get all the way to the rim, which can be a struggle for Bryce at times. And especially for a Lakers team that oftentimes is stagnant offensively, where there's just a lot of standing around, isolation ball, clogged spacing, a guy like Bryce, who is going to be a great spot-up shooter, is going to benefit a lot in that role where he can space the floor in, lineups with Braun and AD and D'Lo or whoever. And then on bench lineups, he could potentially be a guy who just like takes a lot of tough shots and makes them because he's so good at them. And on the Lakers, his bad defense and passing and such wouldn't matter as much because the Lakers are such a good defensive team and have other guys to pass and such. So Bryce at 17 fit I really, really like, and also just like solid value at this point of the draft too. At number 18, the Miami Heat are doing it again. They're getting Bilal Kulabali, who's been a super hot prospect. He honestly probably was going to go in lottery. He's not going to be here on draft night. And I think he's a lottery-worthy talent in the draft, like I said, with many of these. And the Heat would be stunned and extremely happy for him to fall, as Bilal has legitimate secondary creation upside. Look at that left to right cross with his burst. Lays it down, but the play gets called off. He's really impressive using his handle in simple ways to enable his athletic tools. All he needs is a little change of direction here to get a step on this defender. And look at how far he like floats in the air to flick that in. He's just a really great vertical athlete off 1 feet, off 2 feet. I love this split into a rise through contact as well. The creation tools are just really, really intriguing, and especially for a Miami team who their thing is always just consistent offense. Like, if Jimmy isn't God mode, or if Caleb Martin doesn't turn into like Nevada Caleb Martin every once in a while, they struggle, especially with the hero injury. So having another guy with the upside, especially because they have a lot of raw spacers, which Bilal struggles with, having another guy with the upside, it's kind of like what they did with Jovic last year, the upside to be a real impressive slasher and playmaker, especially in transition, is a good bet to do, especially one who's really good on defense and dominating, playing really well in an elite pro league with Wemby. Bilal's spacing is a bit of an issue where he's not super comfortable just like taking threes like this, but he is effective using his handle and his passing, of course, as we've been saying, to get to the rim, get his teammates open. He's a really, really great prospect, great player, would be an absolute steal. And another, like, how the hell did the Heat get this guy kind of pick? Number 19, the Golden State Warriors are drafting James Naji, 18-year-old Barcelona big, one of the youngest players in the draft, and just a really impressive two-way utility center. Really great vertical instincts, rising for these blocks, and his movement skill is awesome. He runs the floor like a guard. He might be the Usman Garuba that was promised, because he's actually like 6'10", 6'11", and has the mobility to slide with smaller guards in the EuroLeague, the second best basketball competition in the world. Sliding with this guard, look how quick he flips his hips twice on this play before rejecting that shot in ridiculous fashion. And his offensive game is probably going to be limited to just like dunking, lob finishing, rebounding, but which is okay, especially on a team like the Warriors that have so many awesome offensive threats. And there has been a little bit of flash of him like putting the ball on the floor, using his stride length and raw speed to get to the rim a little bit. But, maybe the Warriors aren't worried about, developing this, especially with, Draymond Green and Kevon Looney aren't getting any younger. And I think another like pure rim protecting five could be really useful for this Golden State team going forward, assuming they want to like keep their championship aspirations. That hey, maybe drafting another center named James in a couple years is going to turn out better this time. Number 20. This is a whole row of picks I love. Look, this range of the draft from like 15 to 23 or 24 is just going to be filled with really good players. And Brandon Pachaski, Santa Clara guard, is no different. The Houston Rockets, as we talked about while giving them Brandon Miller at 4, really need passers, playmakers, high field guys, and Pachaski is one of the best in the draft. His passing is ridiculous. Watch him whip this pass low. That is a very tight needle ball and just a wildly impressive pass. He's a great outlet transition passer. The touch and accuracy here with the half-court lob, just unreal. And while there are some like athletic concerns, gonna need to see how much he can separate and create advantages against NBA level athleticism and NBA level lateral quickness mostly, because I think he's pretty balanced and pretty strong as well. But his handle, incredible shooting, and touch around the rim, along with his scoring craft, make him a guy who I think could be an impact player kind of right away, as someone who can like run bench offense or be a secondary creator because of his size and his ability to hold up on defense with that size and feel. Guys this smart and like this good at shooting and this skilled at basketball rarely really fail. And Pachaski is a value and fills a huge need for the Rockets at this point as well, as a team that's just kind of desperately needing another one of these like really smart PG level initiators. So Pachaski at 20 is the pick there. We have Brooklyn with back-to-back picks. Their first one is Noah Clowney, Alabama freshman big, who I recently just did a whole video where I covered him in the Taylor Hendricks video, so we'll make this short. But Clowney's, idea is a perimeter spacing and potential closeout attacking big with just really impressive defense and ground coverage. Defense being the main thing, where he's so fluid and mobile for a guy like true 6'9", can run out and get blocks, and it's just a really good rim protector as a whole. Can slide and rise to block shots without losing much at all. And as the Nets are a team that are in a weird spot, I wanted to just stack talent for them, stack guys with upside, stack guys at high value positions. And that's what I did with Clowney, and that's what we're doing with Leonard Miller at this next pick, who is a bit of a weird one for me, a bit of an enigma as I've talked about, but he has really interesting like driving and movement skills, where being a guy at like 6'10", 6'11", who can put the ball on the floor a little bit, I love that like off foot finish runner with his weak hand. The touch is really, really impressive. And Leonard's just the guy, excuse the quality of this clip, but can really initiate a little from the perimeter. And he's not really a space creator or super fast, but his movement skills, especially against bigger players, is impressive. And the defense with him is a mixed bag. I don't know what's up with this little malfunction, but the defense is interesting. There is some sluggishness and some I don't really know what position he is. Like he gets bumped back, but is able to hold his ground and block that shot really nicely. There are flashes where he kind of sits at the nail. Here again, we see him hang on a closeout, playing more like solid wing defense. And there are flashes of him being more of a PG. Like in Canada, his year before Ignite, he was playing really bad competition, but he had some really impressive flashes of pick and roll passing and creating. And I'm not really sure what Leonard does, but I feel like that's perfect for a team like the Nets, who kind of can figure it out, where he has these impressive movement skills, feel, touch, a lot of these tools that haven't been molded into anything. But I think there is a world where Leonard could be a really useful player, and the Nets are, I think, the perfect team to take a shot there. Now we have the Blazers at 23. They're taking Chris Murray. Sorry, Kings fans, he's fallen one pick before you. Unlike his brother, his size and spacing is just a big appeal, as the Blazers seem to be contending. We gave them Amen Thompson at 3, another real amazing slasher. So we'll give them a spacer this time, someone who can space, just soak up minutes. Isn't going to be spectacular anyway, but one way that I think he is more solid than Keegan is he's a good defender, really mobile for a 6'8", 6'9" guy, can trail around screens and stick with defenders and switch on these plays pretty well, and is a solid rim protector too, just parking at the rim and swatting the shots of smaller, less athletic players with his general size. So I think Chris is just a solid basketball player, not exceptional at anything, but really solid at a lot of things. And in the late mid first round, that's a really good player to get on the wing, especially for a team that hopes to still be contending. In this universe, they still have Dame and all their guys and Simons and everyone. So Chris Murray's the pick. 24, we have Kobe Buffkin, Michigan sophomore, going to the Sacramento Kings. I'm a lot lower. I'm definitely lower in Buffkin than consensus, which is why he falls out of the lottery in the top 20 for me, which he's obviously going to go much higher in real life. But I think Sacramento is one of my favorite theoretical fits because of his fit in their offense and defense, and how he can they can help mask his weaknesses and exemplify his strengths. I worry about Buffkin's shooting for sure. Sacramento has lots of those. Buffkin's ability to create offense by himself and be a consistent decision maker and space creator, but in Michigan's motion offense, he was an amazing slasher, using his burst and solid vertical pop and speed and change of pace and such to get to the rim at will when he had a screen, or when he was able to pull from 3 off of movement when the defense went under. And the passing at times was really impressive too. Like I said, their decision-making and consistency issue, but the flashes are really good. We see him create a little bit of an advantage here, hang in midair, read this defender, and fire an accurate pass for an open 3. And I think Sacramento's motion offense is literally perfect for Kobe Buffkin. We see so much of Sacramento's offense run around Sabonis, dribble handoffs, pick and rolls and stuff, where Buffkin could act as a cutter with his great play finishing and explosion and stuff to get to the rim off those kind of plays, and could also be used as a DHO ball handler on the perimeter when he doesn't have to create an advantage as a primary or against a primary defender because the Kings would have other offensive threats that the defense has to acquaint. Lots of Kevin Huerter in this video, but again, someone who can, get an advantage from a screen, go downhill, and get a bucket. Just another dynamic offensive fit, a perfect fit for what Sacramento wants to do, and will add some desperately needed defensive playmaking, which the especially without Sabonis's and Keegan Murray's rim protection is something they certainly need. So this is one of my favorite theoretical fits. It's not going to happen. It certainly won't happen, but man, I think it would be awesome. Number 25, we are giving the Memphis Grizzlies Amari Bailey. I wanted to get them a handler, someone who could initiate a little bit of offense at some point, especially, with Dylan Brooks probably leaving and Ja's suspension, probably less of a factor here because, almost no one they draft in this range is going to be good, and they should draft Marcus Sasser if they want that. But I like Amari Bailey's upside a lot. He could probably approximate the Brooks role in not that long. The shooting is the big difference, obviously, as Bailey's, catch and shoot, just general proclivity to not take when guys go under is going to be the big determiner of how good he ends up being. But he's a way better passer than Brooks will ever be. Really impressive slashing tools, can use his handle and pace to wait for this roller to get downhill before firing a beautiful wraparound pass. Was just really great at operating in the pick and roll and getting into the lane using his burst and his handle and his strength and his downhill pressure, setting up these plays, hitting tight little pocket passes like that. Obviously, his teammate drops the ball, literally and figuratively. Getting downhill, beautiful, creative deliveries, the vision, all of it is really impressive. And combining that with his, solid scoring tools, I think there could really be something there. And then defensively, he brings that point of attack defensive pressure as well, where he is really impressive, sticking with defenders, fighting around screens. I see him recover really with, great quickness here, get back in front and contest. Amari Bailey, I think, fits in really well with the Grizzlies style of drafting these random young players with tools and feel. And he's someone who I think fills a valuable role. So they have so many non-scoring wings and stuff, and John, obviously the PGs, but I think Amari would fit really well here. Someone who long-term could play an important role as another handler or creator outside of when Bane sits or if Ja has stuff or whatever. So I like this one. Amari Bailey to the Grizzlies. And at 26 for the Pacers, first of two picks very quickly, we give them Colby Jones, who is just a really solid player. Really good off-ball defender, great instincts, peeling off for steals, rotating on the weak side. Has improved a ton this year as a scorer and a creator, more capable of using his handle to get to the rim. He's just pretty slow on both ends, which is one of his big issues. But he's a great mid-range scorer, really great floater and touch shot. And assuming his three-pointer is good enough, which is going to be the big thing, if he can use his three to open up the threat of him getting to the rim, using his pace, and then force those hard closeouts to hit the mid-range jumpers that he's really good at. It's just a really solid player, and we gave the Pacers another really good player in Jarris Walker at 7, adding another high field guy who defends, can make great decisions, takes care of the ball, and has added a little bit of interesting intermediate scoring, especially pairing with the Pacers having a couple really good offensive threats already in Hallie and Mathurin and such. I like this pick a lot. We're giving them a really solid role player. Number 27, the Charlotte Hornets are drafting Ryan Rupert, Australian NBL wing, complementing Scoot and LaMelo. We're going to need some rangy defenders who play in transition, and that's exactly what Rupert is. He loves to use his length to create chaos on defense, often picking the pockets of wary ball handlers. And he's really great digging from the weak side, using his, or not the weak side, the strong side, should I say, digging one pass away to get in the way of ball handlers and to muck up stuff and create pressure. He's a really great nail off-ball playmaker, and while he has flaws in terms of consistency and feel, most young players do, and I think the Hornets are a really good situation. Actually, probably not, because the Hornets are a bad situation for basically every prospect, but in theory, a place where he could develop as a really high utility defender and someone who can use his length and speed and stride length and finishing tools with his touch and his kind of ability to use his length to get his shots off despite lacking a great burst or a shot. is a good pairing with someone like Scoot and LaMelo, who are going to make you get easy shots in transition and in the half court. So Rupert as an upside defender is exactly what the Hornets need at 27. At 28, we are going with another upside defender, with Utah taking Jordan Walsh. Another one of these, like, no offense, impressive defense upside. Like, I think the defensive upside for him is really, really high, which is good because the offense is really, really low. Pretty decent cutter, like some finishing tools, and the movement skills are interesting, but just not a lot on offense. But he makes up for it with really impressive defensive tools. The movement skills, hand-eye coordination, hand placement for these steals using his incredible length is really, really awesome. He is a dominant perimeter defender, and while the technique isn't always perfect and he can overextend, his youth and movement skills and playmaking, again, so good recovering as well. You see him kind of get beat a little bit by Keontae, where hard pound stop. Most players are dead in the water here, but Walsh is able to recover with his length and contest. That's a great shot that Keontae hit, but he got back into that play expertly. And it's just really, really difficult to get around him at the point of attack. It's really difficult to dribble when he's around the ball. He's just such a good closeout defender as well. This is an important skill and something I like keyed on with Josh Green. I really loved him as a prospect. I think Walsh has the same thing where he can change directions immediately. Such an important part of like modern day offense is this ground coverage skill. And while Walsh's offensive toolkit is just super raw, I really think like what he needs to be on offense is so much lower than a lot of these guys. I mean, I said that for Coro and, other guys, and who knows. But Walsh's defensive upside, especially, again, a team like Utah, they're building around, like Kessler, aside from Kessler, like Markkanen, Clarkson, and such, offensive players. And with Kaysen first and with Walsh, we're building a really, really nice defensive core to add to Walker Kessler over there in Utah. So, 2 more picks. 29 to the Pacers again. We're giving them another dynamic scorer, playmaker in Terquavion Smith, whose NBA range, insane volume shooting is his main case, where he's just an unbelievable, difficult shot maker. The shot selection and efficiency isn't great, but he takes insanely tough shots at a really high volume and many different kinds of tough shots, which are all great indicators for his NBA future. The burst isn't incredible as he struggles to beat guys off of the rim, to the rim with his quickness at times, and his strength is really lacking, but he's getting better as a finisher. His touch is really impressive in floater range, and his pacing in the pick and roll, finding defenders as a skip, to skips or passes to the roll is really, really solid as well as his improvement on defense. So Turk, we gave the Pacers 2 really impressive defensive prospects so far, so we're just going to toss them some more on the offensive side. Probably won't actually make all these picks in real life, but we're doing it for fun in this draft. We have made it to the last pick of the first round. The Los Angeles Clippers are selecting Andre Jackson, UConn wing, one of my favorite players in the draft. Seems like a fan favorite for everyone. An impact defender, you see him dig at the nail, and he is special in transition, pushing with his speed and, being able to mitigate his handle and shooting weaknesses when he can just get to the rim with his handle. An incredible transition passer as well. One of the best that we've seen. So good using his feel to flow into dribble handoffs. And he's so comfortable using his shooting weakness to his advantage. Because he cannot shoot a lick, this defender is sagging way off him. But he knows that he can flow into a dribble handoff for Jordan Hawkins and get him a wide open 3 because of that deep, deep sag. And the Clippers are a team who I feel like are always lacking high field guys who play consistently and who can make these smart plays on both ends, especially when Kawhi and Paul George have their injuries, which they're always going to. Maybe kind of redundant with Russell Westbrook at this point, but obviously Westbrook's getting older too, and Jackson just makes unbelievable plays. That's one of the craziest passes I've ever seen, sprinting to the corner, intercepting, kicking out. Just the wild, wild play. The passing is gonna open up so much potentially for the Clippers. These extra plays where Jackson gets an offensive rebound, immediately scopes out a shooter and such. He does this to interior players as well all the time. The pick and roll stuff isn't probably gonna happen, but the Clippers offense, especially without PG and Kawhi to hit tough shots, is often really stagnant. There's no motion, standing around. like no one's really cutting hard. And I think with Jackson, like you have cutters, you have a guy who's gonna cut hard, who's gonna pass, who's gonna rebound, who's gonna finish and such, who's gonna get to the rim. And I think that's just a very valuable trait for a team that has always kind of lacked that element. And Jackson's just a really fun player who I think has two-way impact, and especially on a team like the Clippers with so many shot makers, scorers, they always have those guys. Jackson's scoring and shooting weaknesses could definitely be mitigated. So that was the whole first round. Let me know what picks you like, what picks you didn't like. Are you happy with your team selections? And do you want to see round two? Because there are still some solid players and some definite first round picks in the consensus mocks that are still off the board in this universe. So let me know what you think. Subscribe, drop a like. I'm always bad at this. Like, comment, all that stuff. Please, I appreciate it.